guys, welcome to the channel. Uh, Today I just thought, out of the blue, I just thought I would review my Ford Figo 2021 top of the line variant Titanium Plus. It's a petrol automatic with a torque converter gearbox. So I don't know why I decided to review this car. I've been using this for the last 8 to 9 months. Well, technically this is not my car, it's my sister's car. But I'm the one who uses it mostly. So I just thought I'd make an initial ownership review of this car. So as far as the design is concerned, it's quite contemporary, understated. This car got a facelift in 2019. So that facelift changed the grille of this car. So earlier, the Figo used to sport a grille that was that looked like the Aston Martin horizontal stats, but they replaced this with sort of a honeycomb design. I would say, like a hexagonal bits placed into the grille. Kind of looks like the CLA, inspired by the Merck's CLA 45 AMG design. But anyways, Ford calls it the cellular grille. I don't know why they call it cellular, but anyways, that's what Ford says. So anyways, we have this hexagonal shaped grille over here, and it's like completely covered in chrome. So it's finished in chrome, and again, there's the fog lamps. The fog lamps are actually halogens, so I have swapped them with LEDs. So stock fog lamps were halogens, and we also have a chrome casing that surrounds the fog lamps, like a chrome strip sort of thing. And well, that's about it. The bumpers have been designed to be more aggressive than the than the pre-facelift version, of course. And of course, we have the similar headlights that this car came with when it was launched in, I think, about 2014 or something. So anyways, moving on to the side profile of the car. So we have a 195/55 R15 tires, 15-inch rim size, and the tires themselves are from Apollo. That's what the company gives you in stock. And I've driven it for about 9,800 kilometers now, and I have never had any punctures with this tire. I mean, it's quite a good performer. I mean, it does perform quite well. And I also kind of did ceramic coating for this car, but it was very cheap. I mean, I opted for a economical ceramic coat, but it turns out to be that it hasn't stood well, because I've been getting so many swirls and scratches all over the car. So maybe time to do a detailing, maybe a DIY, do it yourself detailing, maybe another video for that. Let's see. But anyways, so ceramic done, but you could still spot a lot of swirl marks and scratches on this car. Moving on again to the side profile of the car. Beautifully sculpted doors, and there's this borderline that runs throughout the length of the car. I mean, it starts just from above here, just from above the front fenders, and it just runs way into the tail lights like this. And sort of a nice design, kind of sharp. I would say it looks sharp. I mean, rather than fluidic like the Hyundai's design, I'd say this thing looks a bit sharp. And another boulder line over here. And so as far as boot carrying capacity is concerned, let me just show you the boot. There we go. So I've just gone through the difficult process of getting up all the carpet, because it's a very snug fit. So I just wanted to show you the spare wheel. Let me just lift that up. Yeah, that's the spare wheel. And unfortunately, it's not a full-sized spare wheel. It's 175/55 R14. So it's there's a big size difference there, of course. just like any other manufacturer. Let me just put it back in. There we go. Yep, I think we're done. Right. Coming on to how this car drives. Well, this car was launched back in 2015 and it has always had an automatic version. Earlier, it used to have a 1.5 four-cylinder DCT, 1.5 four-cylinder engine with a DCT gearbox, dual clutch transmission, and that was an astounding powerhouse. I think it uh, put out somewhere around 125 bhp, something like that. And the DCT, of course, it is a very enthusiastic gearbox, very quick with the shifts. So after a while, after the BS6 emission norms and everything, this car got downsized because of due to tax constraints of the government. Ford decided to downsize this car to a 1.2 liter three-cylinder engine with a torque converter gearbox. So the 1.5, I think at some point of time, the 1.5 also had the same torque converter gearbox. But anyways, after BS6, this car just got downsized from 1.5 to 1.2, and that is the current engine. That's the powerhouse that this car runs in, a 1.2 three-cylinder torque converter, and it puts out about 96 bhp and I think about 115 newton meters of torque, which is not too bad. I mean, to be very honest, this is the most powerful engine in this class of hatchback. This is the most powerful engine at the time when this car was available. Of course, this car has been discontinued now since that Ford has left India. But anyways, coming to how this car drives, it's got a very nice low end. 0 to 100 comes out in around 15 seconds, and I usually prefer driving this car in sport mode on the highway because it lets me to choose the gears. Even on drive mode, this car shifts at around 6,500 rpm. That's when it shifts. But if you're sedate with your driving, it shifts somewhere around 2,500 to 3,000 rpm. So right now, I think we're in fourth gear, and let me just slam the throttle down. There you go. There's the downshift, and then it just lurches forward, and it won't shift until 6,500 rpm, just like there. Yeah, there it shifts into fifth, and we're doing about 120, 130 already, and this car is extremely stable. This is an absolutely stable car when it comes to the hatchback segment. I mean, there's only two cars that can do this currently. One is the Polo, and the other is this car. There's only two cars. But other than that, I don't think, I mean, the chassis balance that this car has, and the suspension, the way it handles, and the dynamics of this car, I don't think any other car in this segment would come close to it except the Polo. I also test drove the i10 Neos before buying this car. The i10 Neos, of course, it is a good car, but it's not really designed for enthusiastic driving. I mean, I've on the test drive, I took a corner at around 110, 120 kilometers an hour, and trust me, I could feel it. I was on three wheels. So I mean, good heavens! I mean, I didn't buy that car. I mean, not that it's a bad car, but I mean, it's just not made for it. I mean, it's not as good as a performer as this car. I mean, for city sedate driving, it is a good car. The i10 Neos has an AMT gearbox, and I mean, provides a good fuel economy, nice mileage when compared to this car, because this car only returns about, on a good day, it returns about 9 to 10 kilometers on the city and maybe around 12 on the highway. If you're very, very sedate, if you're extremely sedate, and if you don't go beyond 2000 rpm, if you just put it in sport mode and if you keep upshifting very early, then this car can give you somewhere around 16, maybe But other than that, this car, the only downside of this car is the fuel economy. Um, and if you're driving enthusiastically, then this car will give you somewhere around 6 to 7 in the city. 6 to 7 in the city and around 9 to 10 on the highway. If you're like always on the throttle, like if you go completely bonkers on the car, then of course the fuel economy, it just vanishes. So let's just try and launch this car. Let's put it on sport, air conditioning off, and revving the engine, and there we go. It won't shift until 6500 rpm onto the second gear, and we're doing already a 60 onto third, and we are doing about 110, and there you go, that's the fourth. 120. I've done about 160 tops on this car, with the help of a downhill. But anyways, it does 140 easy on 5th gear, and it won't change until it hits that 6500 rpm mark. So that's why I prefer driving this car on sport, because I get to change the gear. See, now I've changed to 6, okay, and I've downshifted to 5th again, and it's got a brilliant exhaust note. The exhaust note is really, it is so tempting. It is so tempting to drive this car faster and faster and faster, because it's got a great stock exhaust note. And on to 6th gear, we're doing about 140. So in this segment, like I said, it's the most powerful car in this segment. That is one of the main reasons why I chose this car, because I like to drive enthusiastically. There we go. Let's just get into that gap. Anyways. So having a torque converter gearbox really helps in this car, because the segment, if you look at the competition, you've got the i10 Neos, or let me just put it plain this way. I test drove the Sandro, the i10 Neos, the Swift AMT, and also the Quid and everything, and every one of these cars had all of these cars had an AMT gearbox. They didn't even have a CVT. The only thing that has a CVT in this segment is the Jazz, but again, the Jazz also is a pretty old car. Oh my god, that exhaust note, wow. So anyways, all of the other cars in this segment sports an AMT gearbox, and that's the only place where this car differs with them. This has a torque converter gearbox. Having a torque converter gearbox is really a very huge advantage if you're driving enthusiastically, because you don't really, the seams are quite, the shifts, they are quite seamless. I won't say that you won't recognize the car shifting at all. You still get a slight amount of jerk, but it's very negligible as compared to an AMT, because on an AMT, the jerk, the head jerk, the head nod, or rather, that the AMT gives you in each and every gear, especially it is very pronounced when going from first to second. So compared to that, this car doesn't have any kind of head nod like that. The shifts are quite fast, and the downshifts are also, once you put your foot down, the downshift, it just happens instantly, very quickly it happens. Whereas in an AMT, you have to wait, there is a delay, and then the engine node, it's just that it's like you're just revving up in neutral. It goes up to 5000 rpm, and then you get the shift, and then you lurch forward. Whereas in this car, it's quite quick. And talking about the suspension, this car has an independent suspension both front and rear. It's from McPherson's, tried and tested suspension, McPherson's of course. It's a very sublime suspension. It's not too soft, neither it is too hard. It's somewhere in the middle. When it comes to comfort, it is a very comfortable car. It's not too hard, that there's no body roll as such. And when you're driving enthusiastically, again, the chassis balance is just brilliant around corners. This car craves for it. I mean, I'm telling you, this car craves for corners. Around corners, it is so quick, it is so well balanced, it is so dynamically strong. We are in a sort of a B road now, so we're going through speed bumps and everything, and this car is quite low slung. It's not extremely low slung, so in at certain points you might kind of scrape your underbody if you're not really careful. For instance, look at these roads, broken roads, and the suspension is just amazing. I mean, it's so sublime. That's the word. Sublime is the word to describe this suspension. It is sublime, and when you're craving for corners, it gives you that as well. It gives you a very balanced kind of drive when you're going through corners, and when you're going through rough or broken patches of road like these, which we are going to just right now. Yes. So in roads like these, this car again, the suspension, it's quite soft. I mean, it's not on the harder side. Yeah. So I mean, at the same time, it's not too soft either. I mean, they've just, Ford just hit the bullseye when designing the suspension of this car. I mean, it is so perfect. It is so perfect that, you know, they've found the right balance between stiffness and softness. When you wanted to stay calm and sedate around a corner when you're driving extremely quick, it does that for you. And when you wanted to give you a bit of a comfort when you're driving on broken, unpatched roads, it does that as well. I think it's a complete package. So fast forward to 2020, after COVID and everything, my sister had just learned how to drive and she wanted to buy a new car, and her main priority was that it had to be an automatic. It just had to be an automatic. So we were looking at different options. I test drove the Quid for her. It had the AMT gearbox. The Grand i10 Neos, I test drove it, also had the AMT gearbox. The sports version costed about 8, somewhere around 8.5 on road, I think. And the other car that I test drove was the Santro, also with the AMT. The Swift also had the AMT. My sister doesn't like the Swift, and we really wanted a safe car for her. The Swift was ruled out because it was, of course, Suzuki's build quality and everything. I mean, taking into consideration Suzuki's build quality, I thought it was a very unwise decision to buy it for my sister because I was really looking for a very safe car. And we all know Suzuki's are not safe cars. So that was ruled out. Swift was ruled out. And then Sandro also didn't seem to be so safe. And it looked pretty, I would say less premium, something like that. Even the interiors, my sister didn't like the interiors of the Santro. But one thing I loved about the Santro was that all-round visibility. The visibility was just amazing. The A pillar, the B pillars, everything. I mean, it is so sharp. Nothing came in your way, and even the windscreen. It's like it's more like a tall boy kind of a design. So the visibility was just absolutely amazing on the Santro all around. So for a fresher, for a new driver like my sister without any experience, Santro made, if driven just in the city, Santro proved to be a good choice. But we take our car highways as well, on the motorways as well, because my sister won't be the only person who's driving the car. And even this car, I've driven more kilometers on this car than my sister. It's been about 10 months. So I've done about, I think, 9,700 kilometers. So anyways, so Sandro was ruled out because the interiors wasn't good. It wasn't premium and it wasn't safe. Plus, we take it on the highway. We wanted a very sturdy car. Sandro was ruled out. Swift was ruled out extremely, especially because of the safety, and also because my sister felt that it's a very common car. So Swift was ruled out too. And also it didn't have a torque converter or a CVT gearbox. It had an AMT, and AMT is very jerky, as we all know. And also so many users complaining about you know uh, the AMT box failing. I mean, it had so much reliability issues, the AMT gearbox. So many gearboxes failed. Put it on drive and it refused to move. So much horror stories. So I stayed away from the AMTs. And at the time, I actually first booked this car in my city. Um, and we just got the news that Ford was leaving India 1 month after booking the car. And we wanted to buy this one, the Titanium Plus, which is the top end version. It had it was more safe than the Titanium version. The Titanium Plus had 6 airbags, ABS and EBD as standard, plus traction control, hill hold assist, and it had automatic rain sensing wipers and also a rear wiper, which was very important for me because rear visibility is always important, and when it's raining without a rear wiper on a hatchback, well, that's not really a wise choice to be going around in a car like that. See, spirited driving, of course, this car is amazing for it. This car's made for it. Just like the Polo. And again, so talking about ruled out options, we ruled out the Polo was ruled out because I already have a Vento. That is my daily driver. That was bought in 2012 and I still own that car. It's done about 1,60,000 kilometers. And the Polo is typically just a Vento without the boot. And it's the same interiors, same exteriors, same everything. So my sister never really wanted the Polo, and she wanted an automatic, mind you. The Polo was available with a DSG gearbox, and we all know the horror stories of unreliable DSG gearboxes. So many DSG gearboxes going wrong, and the price to fix them up, the price that you pay to fix them back again. Uh, well, no way. So Polo was ruled out because we already have a Vento and it had only a DSG gearbox. So we either wanted a torque converter or a CVT or a DCT. So this was the only car in the segment at the time which had a torque converter